Some of you producers are just making beats. You're not real producers. We see you. All right, I hate that conversation. I hate the distinction between beat makers and producers because I don't think it's helpful, for one. And number two, it's virtually always used to minimize somebody else, put someone else down. Oh, this person over there, they're not a real producer. They're a fake producer. All they do is make beats. Okay, well, if you're making beats, you're producing something. And honestly, you are setting the tone for the entire songwriting process because you create a track with a key, with a chord progression, with a melody, with a tempo. Producers generally sequence out their beats, and so without them, the song doesn't take shape. You can't just throw any beat under a vocal track and it sounds good. That's not how that works, right? So I am not going to be the guy that's up here. That first part was sarcasm. I'm not going to be up here calling producers out for not being real producers because all they do is make beats. However, I will say this. You can produce a beat, and that's great. There is a difference between producing a beat and producing a song. And then there are levels to producing songs. What I don't want to do and what I won't do is minimize any of these levels. So if you can produce a song, but you can't necessarily track, okay, well, I'm not going to say you're not a talented person or minimize your ability. If you can direct a session, but you can't handle vocal production, okay, you still have talent. I'm not going to make it seem like you're not a real producer just because of that. But a more productive conversation has been coming up lately. And one of the biggest producers, I think, who's really driving this point home in a way that I really like is Taz Taylor. And then also producer culture shout out to producer culture. If you don't follow them and you're a producer, I don't know what you're doing, but they have been putting out amazing content where they're compiling really relevant clips directly from producers and then sharing them based on a theme. So this theme was producing artists' songs and producing artists in general, the producer-artist relationship at a more profound, meaningful level. And so there's this clip, to put Taz Taylor's statement into context, there's this clip from Metro Boomin talking about how he went from producing beats and being involved in the songwriting and song creation process on that level to producing songs and becoming more of I guess, a traditional producer, learning to really take charge in a session and really take charge as a producer throughout the entire process from the beat to finalizing the song. And I think that's a really interesting conversation to have. So one, I wanted to talk about this with my colleagues, and then thankfully Dame asked me what some things producers could do, people who make beats who want to get into song production could do to make that transition. And so we had a great conversation about that. Shout out to all of you for subscribing to the new podcast channel and supporting the podcast. We really appreciate that. Thank you for supporting our sponsor and getting free music distribution from Two Lost.com, code MEC. And let me know what your experience is with producing in the comments. Do you produce mostly beats? Do you produce full songs? Are you one of those producers who doesn't even make beats? I think there's space for all of us. I know there's space for all of us. There's always been space for all of us in the music business at large and in the space of music creation. So sound off. What do you do? And how did you learn to do what you do as a producer? Thank you. Here's just a quick clip of Metro Boomin talking about his transition into becoming that producer and playing that role.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
now it's like they're going to listen to you.
They'll listen more, but even like more so in the beginning, like, I'm gonna let you know what I think. And I feel like over the years, like the past decade, I've grown from more of a beat maker role into more of a real like producer role, to where like giving you feedback. I might give you some bars. I might help you start this off. I might let you know, like, yo, this was hard, but you started to lose me halfway through. Let's just fix that up and then keep it going. And I feel like that's like just as important, if not more important, than like just making the beats.
100%.
Because it's like ensuring that the song comes out. Like, I can't just sit there in the studio and you just rapping on the beat and I might not like it like that. And I'm just going with it. Just like, okay.
So let's give some people some tangible things that if I'm a beat maker today and I want to evolve into a producer, what are some things that I can do today or in the next year to help me evolve into the producer that I want to be?
I have a list, actually. I would say, firstly, I think producers need to just realize that production can extend to songs, not just beats, and then really start changing their mentality and preparing to produce songs. Because the same way we learned to make beats, the way I learned to make beats was I would listen to beats and I would really hone in on what the beat was doing. And we can do the same. We can learn about vocal production and songwriting and sequencing and mixing, etc., by just focusing on those and putting ourselves mentally, not physically, not in the physical world yet, but at least mentally preparing ourselves by just immersing ourselves in what that all entails. What makes a song good? We're not just listening for the beat. We're listening for the whole song. We're going out and seeing what people are liking. You know, we're paying attention to what people are listening to. We're paying attention to what's doing well in certain circles. We're paying attention to music that's a little avant-garde and pushes the envelope, and we're just becoming more equipped in our minds for that. And then number two, I would say remixing songs helps, because we have a full song and we can create our take around that. And I'm not saying drop the remix. I'm just saying practice with it. Collaborating with artists really helps. The groups I used to be in blew up in my face, but I learned so much about production, because realistically what happened was, it was the same thing Metro Boomin was saying. I would be in the studio and I was doing tracking. I think tracking is a hack. If you become a tracking engineer as a producer, you learn a ton. But as I'm tracking, I'm hearing a rapper go, offbeat. They came in early, or they said the wrong word, or the tone's off, or I knew they sang flat there. So I didn't want, and maybe this is something else that producers need to do. Metro Boomin was saying this too. I didn't want to put a song out that I thought was flawed in ways that it didn't need to be. And so I started speaking up. I was getting annoyed. I'm like, you motherfuckers just coming here recording for free with me anyway, because they were my friends. You're not going to put out this whack ass shit. And I'm the one with my name on it doing all the work. I have to mix a song that's offbeat. So I started saying stuff. I think the first thing I started doing was adding a little vocal production. So effects, and I would sequence in real time so they could hear it. And then they were like, oh yeah, we like that. Okay, cool. Now you know that I do have some sense when it comes to putting a song together. Now I can say, do that line again, or try this end rhyme instead, or, you re-record that because you came in early. And then they'd listen to me because I was right. And then lastly, I'd say have a vision, because, don't just make the beat and focus on the beat. Make the beat with a song in mind, at least in the back of your head as you're making it, and then building up the confidence to at least present your vision to the artist. That is a big step too, because a lot of times, an artist will go into the studio and you think, okay, they know exactly what they want. No, they don't. No one knows. What music just happens out of thin air. That's the magic of it. So if you have some kind of vision and you articulate that vision, then you're influencing as a partner that song. You're actually a true collaborator. You're not just like, here, do whatever you want with this, because that's not helpful to them either. What do you think, Erinn? I got to let someone in my house real quick, but what do you think?
I'm with you. I think, again, kind of practicing for the sake of practice. I think another thing to do is expose yourself to things you don't enjoy. I think when I was coming up, and I just I was listening to another podcast, and he was talking about a study about how fast basically a child born to, like a 3-year-old, a child born 3 years ago at 2021, a 3-year-old is going to experience, I think he said 57 years by the time he's 10, because of the technology age, right? Things are moving so rapidly. Because of that, we are so used to getting what we want, or I don't like that. I don't like that. Like, I can't tell you how many people are like, no, I don't want to try it because I don't like it. It's like, what? How do you know? Well, I know because I tried something 6 years ago or whatever. I think there's a value in exposing yourself to things you don't know, or you don't enjoy. So for me, like, I listen to podcasts and I listen to people that I don't enjoy. I listen to people whose opinions I don't agree with. I don't listen to people who are disrespectful, but I have a healthy curiosity about people who don't think like me or sound like me or whatever. And my journey with music was like that. I mean, I'm very, 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 very open to a ton of genres, but listening and exposing yourself to things that you don't necessarily like. So if you're a hip hop producer, everybody's like, yeah, I listen to a lot of shit, but it's like, have you ever listened to a full ballet funk record? Like not just one track or not just Sango for, for an album, but have you sat and listened to a 3-hour ballet funk record where they're just sitting there and improvising? And you know what I'm saying? Like maybe exposing yourself to sitting still as well. I think a lot of times we're results driven. So it's like, I'm going to go listen to this one jazz song so I can make a jazz beat and interpolate it. And then I'm going to put it out and be like, well, y'all don't like my shit. Again, I think there's a level of discipline that comes with practice that allows you to get into the perfecting. My friend Slim Wave, he's now kind of producing most of Summer Walker's records, and he does a lot of the loops that London uses, but he posted a video yesterday. He was playing the trombone and the trumpet and the keys, and then he was doing the talk box. And I literally commented, how many instruments do you play? And he said, as many as I can get my hands on. So I didn't know he played the trombone, and people were like freaking out, but apparently he just taught himself how to play the trombone. But so when somebody says they make loops, my standard is either Payne or my friend Slim. 'Cause it's like, Payne is making loops, but he's doing it every single day. So if you're like once a month chopping and splicing together some shit and you're like, oh, I'm a loop maker, put this on a track. It's like, yo, you don't have to be the most incredible executive producer in the world, but have you perfected the thing that you're saying that you're good at? And I think it's just a matter of sitting still, listening more, exposing yourself, really thinking through things and being great at what you want to be great at. And then also exposing yourself to things that are maybe you're not the thing that you want to be great at.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think, so I've been in sessions where I've been challenged, especially with vocal producers, cause that was kind of a foreign concept to me. It's still, cause I don't sing. I do vocal production, but I don't sing. And so I've worked with singers who are vocal producers. Obviously they're on a different level. But there was one that I was working with that it was my track, and there was a singer in the studio and he was directing her to sing a certain harmony layer. And I'm like, I don't like that. He goes, just wait. I was like, yeah, but I don't like that. He goes, just wait. And then once he was done, I was like, oh, I like that. I see what you're saying. Let me just shut my stupid ass up, because there was that level of discomfort. And it sounds like during everyone has to be open. Everyone has to be open. Like what Tab was saying, artists have to be open to be produced. And at that moment, I wasn't open to allowing the producer to do what he needed to do. And when I just shut up and allowed, it was like a risk. I just had to sit there for 10 minutes and be uncomfortable. And then at the end of it, I was like, okay, that paid off. So a lot of people don't want discomfort. And I feel like a big part of that now is the DIY era. It's a double-edged sword, because hyper independence comes with that. And it's great that artists can do anything they want, and mostly themselves. They can record, track whatever, get beats on the internet, make a song on the fly with very minimal equipment. But it creates this sense of not needing to collaborate. If I can do it all myself, I have to do it all myself, and I'm the only one that matters. And I feel like that ties into conversations we've had about management, especially with you and Dame, because like you said, a lot of artists swear they need a manager to take them to the next level. When they get a manager, they don't listen because they don't like being told what to do, even if the manager is just suggesting things. And even though that manager might have the experience to give good insight, they're like, nah. I think producers, it's harder for us because the internet's been also a double-edged sword for us. It's great that we can sell beats online, make a living doing that. We can send beats to any artist on the globe through our phones. Amazing, right? But the system also cuts us out of the production process of the song entirely. And many of us don't even know that we could be producing the song. So if we get a chance to get in the studio with an artist, we keep our mouths shut because we don't know that we can say anything. And sometimes we're afraid to say anything. And the artists are so used to doing it themselves, they don't even want to hear what we have to say anyways.
Here's my suggestion for producers, and I got to run in 5 minutes. But one, I would try to be a part of communities that producers have, like established producers. So like a Ill Mind, I don't know if he's still doing a lot of stuff, but I would try to become a part of his community and soak up as much game from afar as possible, and maybe even be a part of the community and go to his meetups and things like that to learn kind of like how he's thinking through some of these songs that he's actually producing. I would try to find a mentor. I would try to be a part of a team. Even if you can't be a part of a team as a producer, I would try to be a part of a team that's actually moving so you can see kind of like how they're creating and which songs are working and which songs are not. So even if you have to play a lesser role of a bigger team and contribute in a different way, maybe you might not be able to be the producer on that team, but you can help run the sessions, you can help go get food or whatever, just to be a part of something bigger that's already working so you can start learning. A lot of producers I've met are just kind of weird. You got to get out of your house. You got to communicate. You got to develop the emotional intelligence to be able to communicate effectively.